Well, it's Saturday morning. Here on the Commons, looking for that protest, and so far I'm not seeing much of anything or anybody. Just a quiet day at the merry-go-round here at Boston Commons. If I find anything interesting, I'll pull out the camcorder and let anybody know. Well, except for a handful of people clad in black who are wandering around, there seems to be nothing, absolutely nothing going on in front of the State House. I don't hear or see anything, so I'm going to pass. On the other hand, there's a pavilion in the middle of the Commons, and I can hear shouts and cheering over towards the Tremont Street side of the Commons, so I'm going to head on over there and see what's going on. Since it's still drizzling and rain, I am not going to pull out the camcorder, so sorry if everything's coming through on my low-tech cell phone. I'll power up again if I see anything interesting about the protest that's supposed to be happening today on the Boston Commons. I hear cheering, I hear noise, I'm going to head towards the noise. Okay, I think I found where the protest event's going on. At this point, I'm going to swap out my cell phone and switch over to camcorder. I think the rain's letting up enough so that my camcorder probably won't get damaged by the water. Let's go see what these people are talking about.
Without liability, it's unfeasible, right? So let's stop wasting our time begging the legislators. Let's stop wasting our time with illusions that we're going to create a cozy little relationship and maybe they will vote yes when we need them to. Stop it. Vote in people. We literally have a unique chance right now to demonstrate to the whole Massachusetts and to Charlie Baker and everybody else who thinks they own the state because they figured out the games, right, to play. We have to show them that we can vote people in just like we can vote people out. So, save your energy, save your time, because I've seen way too many people who got burned out in this movement, who have no more energy, who have left it because they just lost faith in anything getting done. So that's it. We got to get it done. This is the year. September 1, Tuesday, get out to vote.
Thanks, Karina. Yes, everyone, make sure today, action. You text 100 of your friends to vote for Dr. Shiva, right? Tuesday. So next coming to the stage is a mother, Carol. She's going to share her story and journey with us. Welcome, Carol.
I'd like to introduce you guys to my younger two children. This is Lily and Sophia. Joshua and Noe. They're beautiful. They were born healthy, solid little kids. And my husband and I made the decision to vaccinate them. I'm a registered nurse by trade. It was the thing to do. So at 9 months, Lily's 20 pounds. She's walking, well, she's standing and cruising. So the precursor to walking. She's crawling, she's sitting. She's beautiful. She has this weird thing happen after we vaccinate her though. She gets lethargic, and that lethargy lasts. It lasts for about 3 days. So I call her doctor and I say, hey, my daughter's having a neurological reaction to her vaccines. I think I need to take her to the ER. Of course, now we're down the Cape on vacation, you know? I have no idea where do we go? Do we gotta go back to Children's? Or is there somewhere local? How serious is this? I don't know, but I'm a little concerned. They laugh and they tell me she has a vaccine hangover. They were very wrong, and I was very right. That vaccine hangover ended up being regressive encephalopathy. Lily went from 20 pounds at 9 months to 17 at 12 months. At 12 months, she could not sit unassisted. She was no longer crawling. She was unable to stand. That was the easiest of all of my children's vaccine injuries. That was literally like the least bit of anything we dealt with. Lily required therapy until she was 7 years old. We had to teach her to eat again. I went to the December hearing, And I really couldn't tolerate being in that room because of the nonsense that you hear. And having experienced something like this, I'm sure you can imagine that it hits you pretty hard when you have people talking about how, you know, oh, a measles case could cost 20 grand. Do you know what that case cost? Just out of pocket was over 100,000. And that wasn't with what insurance covered, that was just what they didn't. Because every year we maxed out insurance on her and paid out of pocket. And when this baby couldn't eat, you better know I didn't go to work. I stayed home and took care of my baby. And I said she was my easy vaccine injury. We didn't know she had sustained a vaccine injury until years later. You see, what happened is this little guy over here, Joshy, same almost 30 times with different physicians. It's a lot of times. That's a lot of reassurance, right, guys? So in any event, Josh's regressive encephalopathy is next level. Josh's regressive encephalopathy was so severe that I didn't think it was a survivable illness. We were talking about brain tumors for this child. He had so many severe neurological symptoms. I have never seen so many neurological symptoms in one patient and have that patient survive. Now, here's the thing. During the course of the vaccine injury petition, we actually filed it because they wouldn't give me Josh's records, and his the provider following him from Children's Neurology had told me after this is his 5th post-vax regression, I think he might be sensitive to vaccines. You think? Maybe a little? So we filed. And during the course of that petition, this is what we found. See, after the OAP, the Omnibus Autism Proceedings, the special masters went back to the vaccine injury attorneys and told them, hey, we don't want to see autism cases brought to court. So maybe autism is a superpower. Maybe that's what the special masters believe. And let me be clear, this was not one attorney who told me this. I literally called, they give you this big, huge stack of vaccine injury attorneys. I called every one of them in the United States. I probably called 200 attorneys. I was ripped. Everything they said couldn't happen happened to my kid. My kid became autistic because I vaccinated him.
Right.
How the heck does that happen? Because remember, that's not supposed to happen. I can answer that. This is how that happens, and it's been known to happen since 2007. My son was injured in 2014. Well, in 2007, Dr. Andrew Zimmerman, who had actually testified in the OAP on the federal government's behalf, notified the Department of Justice that he was aware that there was a number of children like mine who had underlying mitochondrial disorders. And in the presence of those underlying mitochondrial disorders, when vaccinated, this could cause an energy deficit that could lead to neurological injury. That neurological injury was encephalopathy, which when regressive in nature can cause symptoms of autism. Those symptoms can qualify a child for autism. Well, both of my children developed symptoms of autism. My daughter did not qualify. She didn't meet criteria for diagnosis. My son did. This part's kind of tricky. Because, see, I didn't know that Lily had sustained an actual vaccine injury until we were in the midst of Josh's. And when we found out, it was a lawyer who told me that Lily had had a vaccine injury. She said, you know, I can't take your son's case, but I would have taken your daughter's and they would have settled out of court. And I was like, what are you talking about? She directed me back to the records that I had actually sent her, the vaccine injury table and a couple other places, and it was so obvious. It was so obvious looking at it through these eyes now compared to back then. The injury was absolutely obvious. Lily had suffered an acute loss of previously developed skills. That's literally the definition of a developmental regression. She had been diagnosed with a developmental delay, which it's not far, but it's a big difference in the presence of a vaccine injury. So at that moment, now right about the same time Dr. Zimmerman's affidavit came out, you guys are all aware of Dr. Andrew Zimmerman's affidavit, yeah? And after that we found Julie Gerberding's interview. You guys are aware of Julie Gerberding's interview? the former director of the CDC who did the CNN interview saying, yeah, we know that children who have mitochondrial dysfunction can develop neurological injuries from vaccines due to energy deficit, and it can result in symptoms of autism. Exactly what happened to my kids. This was years before it happened. I realized my children had preventable injuries. If we had identified Lily's as being what it was, we could have prevented Josh's. If that interview with Julie Gerberding had been taken, if anybody had done something with it, if the Department of Justice had taken Dr. Zimmerman's warning about this, seriously, this all could have been prevented. So, what does a mom do? A mom gets mad. You hurt my babies. You hurt my babies, and you didn't try not to, and I want to know why. But eventually it dawns on you, I know why. They would have had to spend millions of dollars to identify children like mine who would be hurt. And then those children wouldn't be able to take their product, huh? So they're gonna lose customers, right? So you're losing customers, but if my kids got hurt, they had no liability anyways, did they?
Right.
So who's paying the price? I'm paying for the vaccines, and my insurance is paying for the vaccines, and then we're picking up the tab on the other end too with an injury. So I went to the December hearing, and I waited and waited and waited, and actually this little one over here who's now turned around, Lily, these kids' parenthood has been a trip for me. Lily hemorrhaged the day before that hearing and ended up having emergency surgery. I went from the hospital to the State House because that child was at risk of losing her education. I knew if either one of those bills passed, they would essentially be holding my children's educations hostage for ransom that I couldn't pay. So I showed up, I stayed, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and at 1 o'clock in the morning I testified, and there were two senators, and I don't know if it was a state legislator or senator in the room. There were 3 people in the room who I testified in front of, and I gave a great testimony. I explained the mechanism of injury. I wanted to make very sure that they knew that there are safety issues. When you force vaccinate, there are huge safety issues. Who are you to decide who takes the risk, who gets hurt, and who doesn't? So, in any event, we're walking out after the hearing's over, and our legislators are leaving, and I hear one of them say, they're kind of patting themselves in the back. One of them says, now that's democracy in motion, in action. That's democracy in action. Everybody's gone home. Everybody's asleep. What are you talking about? There is no action. Everybody's asleep now. Nobody stayed till the end. I stayed. I had more reason than anyone to leave, and I stayed. So after that, I met with Senator Roush again. She was the sponsor of one of these bills. I wanted to make sure she was aware that she was going to hurt kids with her bill, because I figured there was nobody on this God's green earth that would write a bill and have the knowledge that I brought to her attention, and I came to her with studies and with evidence and with affidavits, because I couldn't figure. I figured there's no way, she must just not know. And don't get me wrong, she should know. If you're writing a bill, you should know exactly what you're doing. I do suspect she knew at least the second time I explained the situation. She was aware. Now, here's the issue with this community immunity bill, right? If I want to file a religious exemption for my child, and now everybody's going to want to be doing this because of the flu shot. Well, I'm going to have to sign a thing with the DPH basically admitting liability, medical neglect, child endangerment. You know how many hours of research I did to figure out? You know how it was a battle to find medical treatment and medical care for these children. You want to make a physician angry in Boston? Say vaccine injury, Bring a kid in and say, my kid's got a vaccine injury. They'll kick you out of that office real quick. They don't want your money anymore. It's the truth. So in any event, these are the faces of vaccine injuries. They are not uncommon. They are way more common than anyone would like to admit. And the sad truth is, things need to change now, because there's all this talk and discussion and protest about lives that matter. And they do, and we have to protect our kids. But the other thing, we need to realize, you guys, this is Boston. This is Massachusetts. The United States started here. The Pilgrims, they pulled up on Plymouth Rock. What are they looking for? Freedom. Freedom. Escape from tyrannical government, right? And religious persecution. The freedom, that's right, 400 years ago. And that's the same freedom we're trying to protect today.
Yes.
So never forget it.
Thank you, Carol, for sharing your story. It's really important, I think, for people to hear those stories over and over again. And I need to hear those stories too, because taking this stand is not easy, right? You get shunned, you have family members that won't hang out with you anymore. There was a moment where I was like, is this gonna cause a divorce? Like, in my own relationship, because I never knew that this was something I would be so passionate about. So thank you, Carol, for sharing your story and everything that you've gone through. Because it's an important reminder to me why I continue to do this and why I'm okay for people to hate on me. Because I care about the mothers and the families like Carol that have been affected and need us the most. So next, Sam is going to share some words.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Johnson. I'm just here to share a bit of my story. It shouldn't be too long. But the first time I met Dr. Shiva was probably back in June, or probably a bit earlier this year. Once they shut down Massachusetts over this hoax of a virus, they decided that, oh, we're gonna take everyone's jobs away. We gotta march, we gotta convoy, we go up in America, do rallies and everything. And so when I was there, when I met Dr. Shiva, he was talking about, what's wrong with, these forced vaccinations, why is the government lying to us about this particular virus? And so more and more, every day is just getting more clear. Things are not adding up. People are lying to us, which is why we do have to vote, all the bad people out this coming November. So having to watch, what's been going on these past few months. Okay, so now they're doing Black Lives Matter riots. Is the virus over now? Why should I be forced to have a vaccine? If we've had this flu vaccine for over 78 years, why is the flu still a problem? I can tell you for a fact that if there is some kind of vaccine for COVID-19, chances are people in the future are going to get COVID-19.
Yeah, right.
So we got vaccines for chickenpox, we got MMR, we got measles, we got all these other vaccines, but these problems are still occurring. So what good are these vaccines doing? Because the reason why I'm here is because of the simple fact that not everyone wants to be stuck with a needle.
Yeah.
I have never had a flu vaccine in my entire life until I was forced to at work. And never got the flu. So at the same time, though, you got to think about what certain healthcare professionals and what certain politicians are lying to you, give you false information, just trying to control you, just to do what? To try to kill you further? To give you more, more issues, so the hospitals could bring more money?
Yeah.
I mean, more. It's like if you just wake up and realize that a lot of this is just a scam. More and more people that wake up and realize that this is just a scam, then more eyes gonna go open, and we can actually do more stuff and actually continue to make America better than it's ever been before.
Hey guys, I just wanted to add something I forgot to mention. So, just so everybody's clear, currently, vaccine industry is a $50 to $60 billion industry. If they can convince the critical mass that you need the vaccines, right? Not just the flu shot, not just the COVID-19, but the 200 plus vaccine in the pipeline that they're carefully crafting the PR marketing campaign around. Guess what? The vaccine industry is going to be a $1 trillion industry. Yeah. Do you think they might put a lot of money behind marketing and pushing it down your throat? Yeah. Right?
Yep.
Thanks, Fran. So next we have another incredible volunteer, Jake, who is a rock star at Standouts, also rain or shine.
Hi everyone. I've never spoken in public before, really, and I've never been a part of a campaign before. I never thought I would be involved in politics, but guess what? This is way more than politics. This is about our future. This is about our truth, freedom, and health. This is beyond left and right, and Dr. Shiva showed me that this is beyond Democrat and Republican. This is about whether we want our lives dictated top down by these people over here, or whether we want our lives controlled by ourselves and our families. When I was in high school, the state of New Hampshire broke apart my family. Me and my siblings were abused by my then stepfather, and the state of New Hampshire, upon my mother.
What I love about Dr. Shiva's campaign is that it's bringing people, Democrats, Republicans, independents together, and really each and every one of us here today, right, taking that personal responsibility that we all have to do something, right? When you leave here, take action. Don't do, share this event, text your friends in Massachusetts. We all have to take it upon ourselves if we want Dr. Shiva in office. Yeah. So, thank you everyone for sharing your different stories and experiences. I want to get Dr. Shiva up here. But I want to share really quickly. I've never again been involved in politics. The first time I ever had been to the State House was for the, what was it? There was a hearing on vaccines. And I will just say that when I went into that building, I felt the life being sucked out of me. And I literally felt like I was in a theater and that this was all staged. And I don't even know all the legislators' names, but they had no respect. They're sitting there drinking Coca-Cola shit products, and I'm like, I would never trust anyone with my health who's, drinking and eating this garbage. But besides that, you could see the canned responses. I was with Dr. Shiva. We were first in line, and they held his voice till the end of the day. There was just, and they had no questions, right? Mahoney, thank you, called Dr. Shiva of effing prick for his science and information. So that for me was like my opening and awakening to understanding that the State House was not where I needed to be. And, so I will never go back there. I will never beg to them. And I promise these legislators that the one person you don't want to stand between is a mother and their children, right? I'll just say, I am from Vermont, and I will practice my Second Amendment right if anyone truly tries to come between me and my son, because that's just not happening. It's not happening. So, I'm so excited for this weekend. Thank you again, everyone, for coming out in the rain and helping Dr. Shiva kick off the Truth, Freedom, Health rally tour. We're going to be going all across Massachusetts this weekend and the next 4 days. So make sure you go to shivaforsenate.com, go to the events page, follow Dr. Shiva, let your friends in Massachusetts know where we're going to be at, and send them along so they can see Dr. Shiva, hear Dr. Shiva for themselves, and see the truth, see the light, and help him get elected September 1.
Thank you. Thanks, Jen. Richard, you may just want to pan to show who's here. Look, everyone come on in. Do people want to sit down? Would that be better, or everyone okay? Good, okay. This 1 week ago, it was 1 week Sunday, within less than, I think about 12, 16 hours notice, we called an event and about 200 people showed up here. I remember that? 200 people. We have always, when I say we, the people in this room and the political theory that we have espoused has always said we go bottoms up. So I want to talk about a couple of things. Because until we understand the physics of revolutionary movements change, we will always be misled. So we're going to get a couple of lectures. You're going to learn that. Then we're going to learn about the immune system, and then we're going to end with talking about how we win. That's what we're going to talk about, because for far too long we have been misled by people who actually are trained to mislead you. Okay? And they are the people who you most think are on your side. And the misleaders are manufactured by the establishment. All right? So you need to understand the physics of revolutionary change, which I've had to study all my life. So you got, in addition to medicine, so you ever see the medical staff? It's got the two snakes, right? It's a caduceus. Well, the center of the caduceus is basically supposed to be your energy, but the two sides are the yin and the yang, or Ida and the Pingala, whatever you want to look at it. But I look at those two sides as one is understanding politics, and the other is understanding health. And that's what my life has been about. So you're going to get today, in the next few minutes, the weapon of the caduceus. All right? And everyone here needs to understand this, because see, the news media, the stupid legislators, the Kennedys, they don't want to train you on that. They want you to bow down to them. It's about time everyone in this room becomes a beacon of light. We already are. But that is how change comes, and it's about time we realize that. Look, I'm running for Senate with no illusions. I'm not going to go in there and party with these guys. The reason I'm running for Senate, and the reason we must win, is because we need to inspire people that we can create a bottoms-up movement and get victory. It's just the beginning, though. It's just the beginning. Don't have any illusions, because, yeah, this is not get out the vote for Shiva. That's not what it is. That's what the Democrats and the Republican establishment do. This is about,
well, it's still pouring rain.
that we as people
I think I've gotten all the good footage I'm going to get for today. And I think it's time for me to head on home.
All of you have put
This
those
has
bumper stickers
been
on.
pretty
We're going
interesting with
bottoms up.
Dr. Shiva.
We're not waiting top down. That's how all
At
of
least
these
I understand a little bit more about
establishment work.
what's going on and who the candidates are.
Donations. We did videos where people saw them and gave $1, $2.